So you've probably scrolled past them, right? Those really striking me versus Hubble astrophotography posts that pop up on social media.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You see this amazing shot from an amateur, maybe from their backyard, of some deep sky object. And it's right there, side by side with the famous Hubble picture.
Hmm.
And it's captivating. You can't help but be impressed by the skill involved. But let's be honest, sometimes there's that little maybe niggle of confusion.
Right.
You kind of look at it and think, wow, if someone can get that good a picture from Earth, do we really need this, multi-billion-dollar telescope floating up in space?
Yeah, and that's exactly the feeling, isn't it? These posts, they are genuinely inspiring. I mean, huge credit to the dedication that the tech amateurs have now.
Absolutely.
But they can also, maybe unintentionally, create a real misunderstanding about what Hubble actually does, its scientific purpose, and why it's just so incredibly valuable. It's a bit of a paradox.
And that right there, that's what we want to get into today.
Yeah.
We're going to look beyond just the pretty pictures, beyond those surface comparisons, to really unpack what these me versus Hubble challenges actually show us.
Okay.
So, for this deep dive, we're going to explore what amateurs can achieve from down here on Earth, which is amazing in itself, but also really highlight the sheer scientific power of something like Hubble.
And we're drawing on insights from an amateur astronomer who actually did this challenge himself, right? Even from somewhere like Tokyo.
Exactly. From Tokyo, one of the most light-polluted places imaginable. So our mission today is to dig out some surprising facts, clear up maybe a few misconceptions, and just celebrate both the incredible passion of the amateurs and the breakthroughs that come from that cutting-edge space science.
Sounds good.
So let's kick things off with one of the big arguments you often see wrapped up in these posts. It's this kind of cost versus outcome idea.
Ah, yes. The price tag comparison.
Right. Our source, this amateur astronomer, he breaks down his own gear telescope, camera, bits and pieces, totals maybe, $221? Pretty modest, really. Then he puts that right next to Hubble's cost. We're talking multi-billions of dollars. He calculates it's something like 5,300 times more expensive.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big number.
It is. And the implied question, hanging in the air is, if the $221 photo looks this good, is the Hubble photo really worth all those billions? Is it like 100 times better, 1,000, 5 million times better? It makes you think, but maybe it misses something important.
Well, yeah, that comparison, it grabs your attention, definitely works for social media engagement. But scientifically speaking, it's fundamentally flawed. It kind of diminishes what Hubble is actually built for.
How so?
Because that $221 setup, while fantastic for personal use, for creating beautiful images, maybe learning the ropes, it just isn't designed for the same kind of science Hubble does. Hubble's value, its return on investment, isn't just measured by how pretty the picture looks side by side.
Right.
It's measured in groundbreaking discoveries, in data that changes our textbooks, in seeing things literally no other instrument, especially on the ground, could possibly see. So comparing costs like that risks making Hubble seem, overpriced or something, which couldn't be further from the truth given the science it enables.
Okay, fair enough. But we should definitely acknowledge the positive side here too, right? Because these me versus Hubble things, they are great motivators for people.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
They push amateur astronomers to really learn their equipment, to get deep into the theory of capturing images, the processing, all of it. Our source talks about just the sheer excitement of managing to image these faint objects from somewhere like Tokyo.
Yeah, fighting through all that light pollution.
Exactly. Just doing that is incredible. It really shows the passion and, frankly, the ingenuity in the amateur community. It's about celebrating what you can achieve with persistence.
Definitely a huge part of the appeal.
Okay, so we've got the inspiring amateur side. Now, let's talk about the undisputed champion in this scenario. Hubble itself. The specs alone give it this, almost unfair edge. Its main mirror, for instance, it's 2.4 meters across. That's massive. Our source said it's taller than me. You could literally lie down on it.
Yeah, it's huge. And that size means it gathers an absolutely immense amount of light. Light is the key currency in astronomy, right? More light means seeing fainter things, seeing more detail.
And it doesn't stop there. The focal length is, 57.6 meters? Just incredible. That allows for really extreme magnification.
Exactly. And when you pair that light grasp and magnification with its advanced sensors, Hubble gets this resolution down to like 0.05 arc seconds per pixel. Sometimes even better, 0.025.
Which is hard to even grasp, really.
It's insanely precise. Think about trying to pick out details on something incredibly far away. That's the level we're talking about. But just as important, maybe even more so, is where it is.
Right, it's up there in orbit.
Precisely. Floating above Earth. So 0 light pollution, forget Tokyo levels, it has none at all, pitch black skies all the time, and crucially, no atmospheric turbulence.
Ah, the seeing.
Exactly. Down here, we're always looking through Earth's atmosphere, especially things like the jet stream, way up high. It causes this shimmering, this turbulence that constantly, blurs out the targets, as our source put it. Hubble doesn't have that problem at all. It gets this perfectly clear, stable view.
That's a massive advantage.
A game changer. You see pictures of the full-scale replicas or people standing near the actual mirror.
Yeah.
It really drives home the scale.
Yeah.
It's just this immense precision instrument in the perfect location.
So you put the specs and the location together. It becomes pretty clear why the amateur in our source concluded, look, we absolutely have no way of competing with the Hubble Space Telescope unless we cheat and or we lie or we go for a certain approach.
Yeah, pretty much.
He even says David has absolutely zero chance, mathematically zero, of winning fair and square. So the challenge for the amateur isn't really beating Hubble, it's how close can you possibly get?
Right. Setting a very high bar.
And for this specific challenge we're looking at, the target chosen was a classic. The Eagle Nebula, M16, famous for the Pillars of Creation, which is probably one of Hubble's most iconic images ever.
A perfect target for comparison, then.
Definitely. So, understanding that beating Hubble is impossible, let's look at the amateur strategy. How did he try to, as he said, match and also to fail to match those results?
Okay.
Well, the equipment choices were deliberate. He used a reflector telescope, like Hubble, with mirrors. But here's the big difference. His mirror was only 15 centimeters, about 6 inches across.
Right, compared to Hubble's 2.4 meters. Tiny in comparison.
Exactly. So way less light gathering ability, which automatically limits the detail you can capture. Then the camera was a specialized color astro camera, tiny pixels, 2.9 microns each. And importantly, he cooled the sensor down.
Yes, cooling is essential.
Why is that so critical for these long exposures?
Well, camera sensors, especially when they run for a long time like you need for faint nebula, they generate heat. And that heat creates random electrical signals on the sensor we call thermal noise.
Okay.
The sensor can mistake that noise for actual light from the stars or nebula.
Yeah.
So it degrades the image, adds this sort of graininess or speckle. Cooling it way down to like -5 or -10 Celsius drastically reduces that noise, letting the faint signal from the target shine through much more clearly.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And beyond the hardware, he very cleverly used Hubble's own technique for color. This is really interesting.
The Hubble palette.
Exactly. See, Hubble doesn't usually take true color pictures like our eyes see. It uses very specific, narrow filters to isolate the light coming from particular chemical elements in the nebula.
Like specific slivers of color.
Precisely. So maybe a filter that only lets through the deep red light emitted by hydrogen atoms, which are super abundant. Another filter for the blue-green light from oxygen. Maybe another for a different red from sulfur atoms. Then, in processing, you assign each of those specific chemical signals to one of the color channels, red, green, or blue. A common assignment is mapping sulfur to red, hydrogen to green, and oxygen to blue. The result is that famous, vibrant Hubble palette. It's not real color, but it tells you scientifically about the nebula's composition.
So fake color, but true science, as our source puts it.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And for the amateur in Tokyo, this technique is brilliant because those narrowband filters block out almost all the city light pollution. They only let through the very specific wavelengths from the nebula itself.
Ah, so it's a way to cut through the light smog.
Exactly. A huge advantage for ground-based imagers in bright areas.
And he didn't stop there with the clever techniques. He used an equatorial mount, obviously.
Yeah, I got to track the target precisely as the Earth spins.
Yeah.
Essential.
And then things like dithering and drizzling. Sounds complicated.
It's pretty clever, actually inspired by smartphone cameras in a way. Dithering means you slightly shift the telescope's aim by just a tiny amount between each exposure, say, each 5-minute shot.
Okay, why do that?
When you stack all those slightly shifted images later in software, those small movements mean the stars and details land on slightly different pixels in each frame. This gives the software more information to work with, effectively increasing the resolution and filling in details. Drizzling is the algorithm that does this. It adds additional data and additional details, as the source says. Hubble uses similar techniques too.
Wow. So stacking maybe 5 hours worth of these 5-minute dithered shots?
That was the goal, yeah.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge always from the ground is the atmosphere, the seeing.
Right, because he couldn't use lucky imaging with these filters.
No, lucky imaging relies on taking thousands of super short exposures to catch brief moments of atmospheric stability. These narrowband filters block so much light, you need long exposures, like 5 minutes. So you just have to wait patiently for a night when the atmosphere is unusually calm and stable, decent seeing, to minimize that blurring effect.
A lot of patience involved then.
Oh, absolutely. Astrophotography is often a waiting game.
Okay, so after all that meticulous work, the right gear, the cooling, the Hubble palette filters, the tracking, dithering, waiting for good seeing, he processes the image. And honestly, the final result.
Yeah.
Doesn't it look amazing?
Yeah.
At first glance, it's really impressive. The colors are there, that Hubble palette look. The pillars of creation seem very sharp and very nice to look at. He even got this bonus, sort of a wider view than the typical Hubble shot of the pillars, so you see tons of details from the nebula around the pillars. In a way, he was seeing more stuff than the Hubble can, just because his telescope framed it wider.
And this right here is exactly where, as he points out, the cheating or the misrepresenting can happen if you just slap that image up without any context.
Because it does look good.
It looks really good, but it's not comparing apples to apples scientifically. When you actually put the amateur image side by side with Hubble's image of the same region, even with the amateur doing his absolute best and maybe even tweaking the processing to match Hubble's look, you can see the difference. The Hubble image just has, well, better colors, better contrast, better details. It's overall much sharper.
Right. And the source acknowledges that. He says something like, I'm very, very happy with what I'm getting, and he absolutely should be. But yeah, the difference is there.
But the real difference becomes obvious when you do one simple thing.
What's that?
Zoom in. Digitally zoom way in.
Okay.
On the amateur image, even with all those advanced techniques, dithering, drizzling, it starts to pixelate pretty quickly as you zoom. Fine details just blur out or become blocky. That thing that looked like maybe a black bump from a distance, zoom in, and it's still just kind of a fuzzy blob. You're guessing.
And Hubble.
With the Hubble image, you just keep zooming. And zoom is incredible. You start resolving all of those details that were completely invisible or just smeared out in the amateur shot. That black bump, it becomes a really well-resolved thing with clear structure. Hubble's image isn't just a bit sharper. It contains fundamentally more information. That's why the source says it's millions of times better, maybe even infinitely better in a scientific sense, because it finds stuff that no other telescopes were able to find, or see stuff that I could not even fathom in my image. It's revealing actual astrophysics that's otherwise hidden.
That's a powerful distinction. And it wasn't just the Eagle Nebula, right? He showed another example.
Yeah, another me versus Hubble post someone else made, this time of a distant galaxy. And again, you see the same pattern. The amateur shot looks fantastic on its own, really commendable. Until you compare it to Hubble's view at full resolution. The amount of detail in the Hubble image is, well, the source calls it mind-boggling.
What kind of details?
You're seeing individual stars within that galaxy. You're seeing individual nebulae, like star-forming regions, inside that other galaxy. He even points out a specific star cluster with this nebula around it. And this is in a galaxy that's millions of light years away.
That's incredible.
It really is. Hubble can resolve things, see the individual stars that the amateur telescope cannot hope to even detect, let alone study. It's not just making a known object look prettier, it's providing the data to understand how stars form in other galaxies, how galaxies evolve. It's pure scientific discovery power.
Okay. So wrapping this deep dive up then, what's the big takeaway here? It feels like there's immense value in both worlds.
Absolutely. Let's be clear. What amateur astrophotographers are achieving today is phenomenal. The dedication, the skill, pushing equipment to its absolute limit, especially from challenging locations, it's genuinely awesome, as our source says.
Yeah, and that process forces you to learn so much. Image capture, guiding, dithering, drizzling, all that complex stacking and processing. The journey itself is rewarding.
Totally agree. But the crucial point, circling back to those social media posts, is understanding why Hubble remains such a big deal, even when amateur shots look, well, good enough at first glance on a small screen.
Right.
Without the kind of context we've talked about, someone scrolling by could easily miss the enormous scientific difference. They might think, oh, guess we don't really need Hubble if amateurs can do that. They miss the incredible depth of detail, the groundbreaking science, the ability to see the truly unseen that only an instrument like Hubble in its unique position can deliver.
It's the difference between a beautiful photograph and a unique scientific discovery engine.
Exactly. Both have value, but they serve very different purposes.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Think about how we experience images every day now. Our smartphones perform computational magic, right? Stitching photos together, enhancing them automatically, giving us visuals that often seem good enough, maybe even perfect for our needs.
Computational photography is amazing.
But could that constant exposure to computationally perfected yet maybe information-limited images affect how we perceive truly high-resolution, scientifically rich data? When we see a great amateur astro shot, are we sometimes missing the context of what else could be seen? What profound discoveries or just sheer awe-inspiring details lie hidden in the depths only revealed by an instrument like Hubble?
That's an interesting question. What gets lost when good enough becomes the default expectation?
Exactly. Something to maybe mull over next time you see one of those impressive me versus Hubble posts pop up in your feed.